Good afternoon and welcome to the Global TV Midday News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Priscilla Obasi. President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians in diaspora that his administration will be friendly to them. Tinubu said that his government would provide an enabling platform for effective policies for the diaspora with a view of galvanizing support for the new administration and making concrete the nation's democracy, as well as setting a good example for other African countries to emulate. This is as he noted that the diaspora home remittances through his official channels, which stood at $21.9 billion in 2022, was over 4 times the value of the country's foreign direct investment. Tinubu stated this at the Diaspora Day celebration at the State House Conference Center in Abuja. Represented by the Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, the President said this year's theme, Consolidating Diaspora Engagement for National Development, was apt given the fact that it births the new dawn in the nation's political journey with the aim of strengthening development in policies and programs with the diaspora community across the globe for national development. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has declared an indefinite strike on Tuesday night. NARD President Dr. Emeka Orji, who disclosed these to our correspondent, said the strike will begin today, Wednesday, July 26, 2023, at 12 a.m. Orji said the decision was made during the July National Executive Council meeting in Lagos. The doctors are demanding the implementation of the one-for-one replacement policy for healthcare workers, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to discontinue the downgrading of its membership certificate issued by the West African Postgraduate Medical and Surgical Colleges, the immediate payment of all salary arrears, the implementation of the consolidated medical salary structure, a new hazard allowance, and the domestication of Medical Residency Training Act, among others. In a related development, the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC has given the federal government a 7-day ultimatum to reverse an unperceived anti-poor policies, including the recent hike in pump price of petrol, or face an indefinite nationwide strike from August 2nd. Consequently, the NLC has directed all its affiliates and state council to immediately begin mobilization of workers and other Nigerians, including civil society allies, for long-distance strike and mass protest should the government fail to meet its demand. It is believed that this was one of the decisions reached at the NLC Central Working Committee CWC meeting held on Tuesday, July 25th at Abuja Labour House. The head of Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Esan, Tuesday said that a total of 1,618 civil servants with fake employment letters were uncovered by the government. She also noted that the government was working towards an upward review of the duty toll allowances of civil servants. Speaking with selected journalists in Abuja ahead of the 2023 Civil Servants Week, she noted that the committee was working towards salary harmonization in the civil service. Meanwhile, the Accountant General of the Federation, Oluwatoyin Madin, on Tuesday noted that there won't be a delay in payment of the July 2023 salaries for civil servants. She made the clarification during the meeting with the HOS Abuja. Madin noted that the delay in May and June 2023 salaries were due to some bottlenecks beyond the control of the Office of the Accountant General. She, however, noted that modalities have been put in place to ensure that salaries are paid as at when due. You're watching the Midday News on Global Television, coming to you on StarTimes Channel 276 from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms at Global TVNG. When Midday News returns, International Labour Organization urges government to breach gap. We'll be back with details of this and more stories shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. Welcome back. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, on Tuesday urged the central banks across the world to focus completely on fighting inflation, strengthening financial supervision and risk monitoring. This was as the fund raised its outlook for the world economy, stating that global gross domestic product (GDP) was likely to expand by 3%. The IMF, in its latest World Economic Outlook monitored, said the rise in the central bank policy rates to fight inflation continues to weigh on economic activities, adding that the U.S. Federal Reserve and the Bank of England were expected to raise rates by more than assumed in April before cutting rates next year. It therefore urged central banks to remain focused on fighting inflation, strengthening financial supervision and risk monitoring, as it noted that there should be further strains appears countries should urgently provide liquidity. The Washington-based fund also advised countries to build fiscal buffers to guard against further shocks and ensure support for the most vulnerable, the Director General. The Director General of International Labour Organization, Gilbert Humbo, has called on G20 labour and employment ministers and other world leaders to address skill gaps. Speaking recently during the G20 Labour and Employment Ministers meeting in Indore, India, Humbo urged leaders to invest in social protection and adopt sustainable financing for employment and social policies to reduce inequalities in global labour markets. According to ILO, the meeting highlighted the need for sustainable finance, social protection, extend social security to more workers, including gig and platform economy, and address the global skill gap. The ministers' meeting centered on addressing global skills gap, extending social protection to platforms and gig workers, and sustainable financing national social protection system. The ILO said ministers agreed on specific policy priorities to accelerate progress on the first two challenges and set a policy operation department, Richard Salmon, high unemployment. 5 weeks after the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, floated the foreign exchange market, manufacturers and labor unions have called for stabilization of the exchange rate, hence preventing volatility in the forex market. The CBN had resumed interventions at the investors and exporters windows as the value of the naira hits the lowest level of 853 naira to the dollar as the official window and 855 naira to the dollar at the parallel market. Although the naira had weakened to 870 naira at the parallel market last week, it opened this week stronger at 830 naira to the greenback. This is as small business owners have urged the federal government to urgently address the severe economic challenges that they face, saying they are being suffocated under the weight of unfavorable policies and harsh operating conditions. They have now urged the Apex Bank to position itself for periodic intervention in the forex market when necessary to stabilize the exchange rate, saying this should happen not by fixing rates but by boosting supply to the extent that reserves can support it. Moving on, more than 40 people have died in Algeria, Italy and Greece as Mediterranean wildfires threaten villages and holiday resorts, and thousands have been evacuated. Greece is preparing for more evacuation flights from Rhodes, also as fire rage on the islands of the Corfu and Evia. The current long heat wave shows no let-up. Temperatures are expected to rise above 44 degrees Celsius in parts of Greece. Fires in Sicily and Puglia have forced thousands of people to flee. High winds and tinder-dry vegetations mean firefighters are struggling in many areas to douse the flames and create fire breaks. The heaviest death toll so far in Algeria, where the 34 victims, including 10 soldiers surrounded by flames during an evacuation in the coastal province of Béjaïa, east of Algiers. Béjaïa is the worst hit area, accounting for 23 of the deaths, local media reports. Algerian authorities said 80% of the blazes had been put out since Sunday, but the massive firefighting effort continues, involving about 8,000 personnel, hundreds of fire engines, and some aircraft. Fires have also raged in neighboring Tunisia, where 300 people have to be evacuated from the coastal village of Malula. As we take a look at sports today, Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen is expected to earn £50 million, equivalent of 43 billion naira, if he makes the move to French giants Paris Saint-Germain in the transfer window. Napoli owner Aurelio De Laurentiis expects to receive a $1 million offer for the player and has credited PSG as the only club that can afford the Nigerian international. Other clubs like Real Madrid, Manchester United and Bayern Munich have pulled out of negotiations for Osimhen due to De Laurentiis' high asking price. Last week, the PSG had already made an offer of £120 million for Osimhen, which the Serie A champion have already rejected. According to several reports, Napoli values Osimhen at £150 million, and no club is currently willing to meet that asking price. If the World Cup winner leaves the team, Osimhen will be the striker deal's ideal replacement. And that's it on Global TV Midday News. We're on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms at Global TVNG. On behalf of the production team, I am Priscilla Obasi, thanking you so very much for watching. Have a great afternoon.